Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of New Breakpoint. My name's Simon Waite, and I'll be your host for today's show. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We'll get to our main guest in a minute, but if you'd like to join in, make sure that you log into your YouTube account and feel free to join in the live chat and answer or ask any questions that you've got, either for myself or Val, who'll be joining us in a minute. If you are catching up on the show later on, you can always tweet us at our Microsoft AU Dev Twitter handle, and in fact during the show as well, and those questions will be brought into the studio so that either myself or Val will be able to answer them for you. As always, please make sure that you take an opportunity to review our code of conduct to make sure that when you are asking questions or collaborating with members of our broader community, that you're doing so in a respectful and appropriate fashion. So what are we going to do this week? So this week we're joined by Valeriia Savenko, who's one of my colleagues in the Azure Business Group here in Australia, and Val's focus is on IoT, but she does a lot of other things. She's a passionate developer. She's really hyper interested in AI, has done some really interesting work in her time at Microsoft Australia in this space as well. Today what she's going to talk about is AI for developers. Last week with Damien, we looked at ML Ops and we showed how you can bring your DevOps expertise into the world of machine learning. This week, we're going to look at how, as a developer, you can get started in the world of AI, which can seem a little bit daunting when you first take a look at it. So let me bring Val onto the show. Just do this 2 seconds here. Hey, Val, how are you?
Hi, Simon. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
It's fantastic. I'm really pleased to have you here, and this is an amazing topic. I think we have some really great opportunities today to explore simple and quick ways for people to get started with AI. And having seen some of the demos you've got as well, I think it'll be interesting for people to suddenly see the power they have at their fingertips without necessarily having to be machine learning or artificial intelligence experts. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the show to yourself, Val, to do your thing. Let me get your slides up here so that you can get started. All right, there's your stuff, and I will see you all later. So Val, over to you.
Awesome, thank you, Simon. Well, hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk to quite an area of passion for me personally. Is the AI for developers, and maybe a little bit about me before we get started. As Simon mentioned, my name is Valeriia Savenko, born and raised in Russia, hence a tricky double I in the name. Came to Australia to study electrical and biomedical engineering a few years ago. It's almost coming out to 10 years, and now currently leading the IoT business for Australia, based in Brisbane. I've done a lot of work sort of with being an electronics engineer in the devices space, done a lot of soldering as part of my degree, and came to Microsoft to sort of combine the cloud and devices. And that's how I was introduced to the world of AI, because when you connect, small little chips to the cloud, there is not really value in just looking at the data. Value comes in when you analyze it. And AI came about to be a very interesting technology that enables you to do that. I think AI is quite a buzzword, and I'm sure everyone who is now watching in some shape or form have heard about it before. And I was introduced to it through many projects that I worked with customers. Prior to this role, I was in the Fast Track for Azure team, working directly with customers on building the projects. And today, I'm just going to share a few of the demos, some of the projects that I have built myself personally, and kind of help you maybe get started. But my main goal, if we take all of that aside, is just to get you excited, is to get you inspired to go and then play with some of the services. Because in the past couple of years, Microsoft, Azure, we have released a lot of really cool cognitive services to help you get started. And I'm going to show you some examples. But if you're an organization and you're very new to AI, I mean, you've heard of it, you know what it stands for. like, what is it? And being a developer, the first thing that I do is I Google, right? I go on Stack Overflow and I try to figure out what is this thing that, let's say, my manager wants me to do. And I took this snippet from the Wikipedia because it's, doing a lot of research in my electrical engineering degree. Wikipedia was my go-to sort of website to understand what is that technology that I'm trying to work with. And if you read through it, I mean, it's pretty complex, right? And how can you take this description into something that you as a developer can go and build, right? And I don't want to go and read it. You can look it up on the Wikipedia, but it's a little bit convoluted. It's just hard to get your head around. And if you don't have really like a data science degree or a machine learning degree, it's quite a steep learning curve. So that's why today I'm going to share my own personal experience, right, coming as a developer, working with customers across multiple projects. And I guess the power of my role is I'm not just siloed within, doing IoT. Usually when we work with customers on projects, it's all end-to-end, from your devices to your analytics to some of the insights. So today I'm just going to, share my own personal journey. We're going to look through two use cases. The first one is kind of the speech analytics and a customer story that I worked with my really good colleague, Tim Layden. And then we're going to go through how you can use AI on your IoT data. If you do have IoT data as part of your organization, how to get started. I think we should have 15 minutes. And Simon, please let me know if I am going over time. I'm pretty passionate about this topic, so I can be talking for quite some time. We do have a few demos, and I had to pre-record a few snippets of them just because the StreamYard sort of software makes it a little bit tricky to share the audio. So we'll share some of the pre-recorded snippets, but everything will be live, and I have devices now streaming data, and let's hope that my hotspot will not turn off halfway through the demo. All right, so if we get started, not sure why this is not showing, but let's not pay too much attention to it. If you want to start in Azure and doing AI and machine learning, kind of at the top of this, right? Like at the top, you see your domain-specific pre-trained models. So something that Microsoft spend a lot of resources, time, and data to pre-build the model that you can then reuse. And if you're familiar with it, they're they're called cognitive services. And it's basically an API, right? And we as developers, we like APIs. It's quite easy to integrate if you do have different SDKs and things like that to help you use those services. Then if we go down, all of the tools, right? So I did a bit of work with one of our customers using sort of Jupyter notebooks in the Visual Studio Code. I spend most of my time in VS Code when I do any development work. So we do have really nice integration with all the rest of the tools. Popular frameworks, TensorFlow. If you ever worked with Custom Vision as an example, right? Custom Vision is built on the concept of a cognitive service, but it kind of helps you customize it to your particular scenario. So you can upload a few images, let's say of if you're training, to recognize different types of bolts, as an example, you can upload the data to the Custom Vision portal and train it. And then you can actually export that as a TensorFlow model. So if you want to see how that works, you can do that as well. We also have different services like Azure Databricks, Synapse, Azure Machine Learning VMs. Like we have one which is called Azure Data Science VM that has GPUs. So you can, if you want to go down that route, sort of use and build your own model using the infrastructure that we have. So we have CPUs, GPUs, and FPGAs as well. So a lot of really cool resources to help you get started. But today, let's stay at the top. And if you want to go down, we do have resources available on the Microsoft Learn to help you get started. So if we just stay at the top and focus on our APIs, so they're called Microsoft Cognitive Services. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of demos, at Microsoft from Build. And actually, when I just started a few years ago, I didn't really find them useful. I'm just sharing my own personal opinion. I didn't know how to use them. I didn't know how to apply them. They seemed like they didn't work as well up until the point I had actual projects that I had to do with customers that I saw their capability and how amazing and how they have simplified the project that we've been trying to create and just accelerated it. So I'll show sort of an example of the particular project that I worked on. So when we look at the cognitive services, they're basically AI, pre-trained AI that exposes a REST API. When you can post an image to it and returns you the JSON as the output, and then you can deserialize it and then maybe share that information on the web page of some sort. And there's a few pillars, right, that we have cognitive services across things like vision, speech, language, web search, and decision. So if I go to the next slide, why cognitive services? We actually have a lot of SDKs for different languages, Python, Node, C#. So depending on what you're comfortable with, we do have things that exist already out of the box and samples for you to get started. And it's quite easy because we as developers quite familiar how to use a REST API. So it's quite a no-brainer to some extent. And if we look at the broader capabilities, there is quite a fair bit. So if you have some time today, maybe after the session, if you're watching, online after we've gone live, have a look at what we have for, let's say, vision, right? We have emotion recognition. We have text and handwriting recognition. So if you have receipts and you want to, even for your own personal project, and you want to automate, getting that information from the receipt, which is either handwritten or typed into some type of a knowledge base, you can build a quick demo as well. Speech is definitely an area of my interest because we have services like speech to text as well as text to speech, where you can pre-train the model on your own voice, type in the text, and it will basically synthesize that, kind of turn the text into the speech using your own voice. We have a few things for language, knowledge, and search. So if you want, you can take a screenshot. But if you just type in your web browser cognitive services, you'll be able to see a variety of different cognitive services for you to get started with on the platform. But now I want to kind of make it real and share with you an example that I work myself, and we've actually had a customer story posted on the Microsoft News, which is pretty exciting. So it's the team that I work with, the Fast Track for Azure. If you want to look more at this story, this is the website. Maybe take a picture if you would like to, and the solution itself is posted on GitHub. It's my colleague's personal GitHub, and we sort of with time keep reiterating over the solution. We've had this solution deployed across a few of our customers, and they sort of extended that to fit their own requirements. But at a high level, what did we work on? So we worked with the Hopkins Centre, with the team at Hopkins Centre at Griffith University. If you're based in Brisbane and Queensland, it's one of the largest unis here. And we work with Professor Elizabeth Kendall, who is the executive director for the center, and she leads a large team of researchers investigating rehabilitation and disability service. And it's important work that brings together community that spans physiology, neurology, speech pathology, and etc. And what they usually do is to gather the data, to do research. They usually do interviews, right? So they call them up, they either do it via the phone or do it in person. And as part of the research, they actually need to record the call and then transcribe it for sort of research and analytics purposes. And what the team at Griffith has told us is sometimes it takes months for the transcriptions to arrive. They use different third-party services. But if you think the audio could have a PII data, right? So you need to make sure it uses different compliance and privacy regulations around how the data is stored. And for the Griffith team, it's really was really quite challenging to manage that. And definitely it's the cost and the time that it takes for them to receive the transcription. And because they maybe use different agencies to transcribe, it's not the data is not the same. Right, so how do you bring that consistency across all of your data sets for your research and analysis? So we worked with the team at Fast Track and Nick Ross, who is the acting director for e-research service at Griffith Uni, and we've built an accelerator, more or less, that the Griffith team that then used to transcribe the recordings. So if I now stop this, and you can still see my screen, I will hide that away. So if you want to read a little bit more, this is the story. It's quite amazing, and I'm super happy that the Griffith team has taken the accelerator and done some amazing things on top of it. The accelerator is posted on GitHub, as I mentioned, using the cognitive services under Team Layden. So it's my colleague GitHub, and it's called speech to text. If you ever want to play with it, just make sure you use Transcription Viewer 3. As I said, it's still work in progress, and we keep updating it. As you can see, Tim was helping me to get it working for this demo a few days ago. So make sure you choose Transcription 3, and if you scroll down, I tried to write a high-level overview of what it does. If you want to deploy it, it uses ARM templates and custom deployment to deploy the solution. But this is sort of the high-level architecture. I'm going to mostly focus at the top part because I think I need to fix the bottom part. Has been a few months since we've touched the bottom part, and the APIs have a little bit changed, so I don't think so it works. But if we focus on the top part, the idea is we use the speech-to-text cognitive service and batch transcription. Team wrote an Angular app where he's hosting sort of the web page of it for the researchers to come in, log in, upload the audio, and see the transcription. We sort of just use Azure Functions to send the requests and receive the transcriptions once it is done. So if you do come in and then you deploy it, so it looks like this. So if you just come in, and if you have never done this before, I'll just open this new tab. Got it. You will just need to specify where you're deploying it, so just the region, whether it's in Australia or US. It will take a bit some time. There you go. All right, but while that is taking time, once you do spin it up, it creates a few services, right? So this is your app, Azure Function, blob storage for your data, and just application insights. Let's see if it has provisioned the custom deployment. There you go. So here you just need to create a resource group, specify the region and the speech location. So it's just a drop down and review create. It will take a few minutes. So just keep in mind, it will take a bit of time, but once it's provisioned, you'll have this resource group. You can go down to the app service and click on the URL. Maybe my laptop is not coping with sharing and demoing at the same time. Cool. While that is loading, let's go to the one that I have already created, because that would be, I think, a little bit quicker. So this is the transcription viewer. This is the work the team has done. I selected color purple. It's one of my favorite colors. What you can do is you can come in, select the recording, or you can upload one. So let's just upload new, choose file. And if you think, how long it took us, initially, we did it over a Christmas holiday last year. So me and Tim just decided, why not to just create a quick sort of accelerator to help the customer. So it took us a few days, but sort of prettifying it and making it in a way that the customer would be able to reuse. It did take some time, but it was pretty quickly with the sort of the power of cognitive services. Cool. Let's now choose recording 2. You can put the title, so I can just say demo live, description, demo live, then you can click submit. As you can see, there's a few transcriptions that I have already posted. If you go before, let's say, obviously you can do it one by one, like I'm doing it here. But team did an amazing thing where you can just select which container. So you can, as a researcher, just upload all the files, and batch transcription will transcribe all of them sort of yourself. So you don't need to do it one by one. So you can see this one is running. It does take a bit of time, but let's go to the one, not 2 months, a few minutes. So let's go to the one that has been already transcribed, and then I'll show you this one because I think that's the one that we have pre-recorded. As you can see, you can listen to the recording here at the bottom. I won't show it just yet, but you can look at the offset, at the text, because it returns it a JSON with a timestamp. You can easily layer that out quite nicely. So let's say if you're working for a for a company where they do call center, where they have a call center, so having something like this, for compliance purposes, or for how well, let's say, the agent is sort of working, you can do quite a similar project. So what else can you do here? You can change the playback speed. You can show confidence, right? So I'll just show confidence here. Confidence is quite useful because obviously the transcription has become really good, but there's still, maybe different accents. They might affect the transcription a bit. So having confidence in knowing, okay, this is 91%. I'm quite confident that that's what the person has said. This is 73%, so you might not be as confident, and you can take that, with a grain of salt when you're doing your research. Simon, any chance I can get you to play the recording so folks that are watching live can sort of see how it works in?
Yeah, hi, my system.
Good afternoon, TBH Network Solutions.
Yeah, hi, my system is down and I need to speak with a technician.
Oh, okay. Let me gather some information and see if we can.
As you can see, that was myself and a good colleague who is Irish doing this demo, so we had to pre-record it. Listening to myself was always the worst thing, but as you can see, you were able to click on the transcription that will take you to a particular time in the recording, which is quite a handy feature for the analysis of it. So this is kind of the first demo. I didn't want to go into the nitty-gritties of the code, just being mindful of time, but if you want to spin it up, it's in this resource group. This is what it will create. And if you want to run it, past your team, like, and say, hey, let's see if maybe we can do something like this, you already have a quick accelerator to get started. One more thing that I wanted to show was this one, and I think I'm being a little bit over the time, but the other really cool thing that we have is ability to do text-to-speech, right? So you can pre-train the model on, on audio, type in some text, and that will give you that audio in that particular voice that you have pre-trained the model. The cool thing is you can even do intonation. You can make the voice sort of sound more happy or more sad. So if you want to play around with it, if you go to the audio content creation, and you want to play around with these styles, you can. So for example, it can be cheerful. If you go down, narration, professional, and you can see how that changes the same text based on different speaking style. We do have one demo, maybe Simon, if you can really quickly input the pre-recorded.
Brazil. All four of my grandparents were born outside of Brazil. They're all immigrants into Brazil. As I look back at this year, I am very proud of the progress we have made as a team. We have made incredible progress day to day across our people, customers, teams, technologies, businesses, and products.
As you can see right now, there was the recorded and the synthesized, right? So the recorded was the actual person talking, and the synthesized was the AI that has generated the audio. And as you can see, it's really hard to separate that. And if you think of various applications, maybe in the could be if you're building like a chatbot as an example, you can pre-train the audio for a very nice sounding voice and play that as well. Maybe you can, as a first step, play around with your own audio and create a replica of your own voice. So it's really, really cool technology. Then I will just do the other demo, which is the, Contoso. Let's think of a sample company called Contoso Art Shipping, and they're specializing in the shipping artwork, right? And they have been receiving a lot of concerns from their customers that the parcel comes damaged, or something that has arrived has been spoiled, or someone has tampered with the package, and they want to track that information, and they want to be alerted if something happens to the parcel, right? So you can read a little bit more, what is it sort of saying here, but in general, we're trying to run maybe some AI or analytics over the IoT data, right? And in general, if you want to approach the problem, maybe you need to build like a data science or machine learning model. So because I'm a developer, I don't know how to do this. I had a look and saw that we have a service which is called Azure Stream Analytics. And Azure Stream Analytics is a service that helps you analyze live streaming data. And as part of that service, it has the capability to do anomaly detection. So we have pre-built a model that does anomaly detection, integrated that into Stream Analytics, and you can just use a simple SQL query-like language to use that model. So at a high level, we have a device streaming some data. We'll have temperature being streamed into Stream Analytics. And then we want to run Stream Analytics query to identify, let's say, if the temperature goes up or goes down within a time frame. I do have a device. I'll just show it. Hopefully it will, I think it's like this. There you go. Sorry if I'm giving you a little bit of a headache, but this is an MX chip, which is a very simple Arduino board with a few sensors on it that is just streaming some data into Azure. And then I have a few services in Azure. It's called IoT Hub that catches the data and then pushes that down to Stream Analytics. So let me hide that away. So I just have a device running. And then if we go into this sort of dashboard. If you want to have a look more on the sort of the Stream Analytics part, we have anomaly detection in Azure Stream Analytics, which sort of describes, you can watch the video, it's quite long, but it sort of explains how it works, and it uses that sort of framework called spike and dip to be able to see when the spike occurs or when the dip occurs, and based on that, it will alert. What I did is that I just copied and pasted this SQL query, and I have a Stream Analytics job, or just before I go, if you want to recreate this end-to-end demo, in this case, I'm using MX chip, but there could be any other device. You can go to this GitHub repo, and it helps you sort of build step-by-step the whole end-to-end demo. It's actually pretty cool. So this is what I've done. And the idea is, this is your query. And what it does is that it's looking at all of the data coming from all of my devices, right? And it's looking at temperature reading, because I want to have a look at the temperature in real time. And it's looking at the temperature, and all you need to do is you need to use this anomaly detection _ spike and dip function over the temperature. And here I listed as what, 1200 seconds. Sorry, 1200 seconds of the data. And then we want to output that information into my endpoint. Right, so I'm going to look at the data, see if the anomaly has occurred within a certain time frame. If it has occurred, I'm going to output the anomaly score, so how confident I am. So as you can see, across cognitive services, confidence is quite a big part of it, because you want to know how confident the model is, and the actual anomaly, has it occurred or not. I do have a time series explorer right here. which is the service where I output the data. If I now just zoom out a little bit in the last few seconds. There you go. Maybe I can press on my temperature reading. So now hopefully the temperature will go up. So this is, I'm just gonna show what I'm doing, but more or less I'm just holding the sensor. You can see, I'm just kind of holding the temperature sensor on the device. Let's just refresh. Just takes a bit of time.
It's got to flow through all those pipes to get to where it's going to.
Yep, to get, or maybe my finger is not hot enough for the sensor. But as you can see before, while it was running, it detected that the temperature was going constantly down, which is definitely an anomaly. So if you do have, a box with a sensor and you want the temperature to be consistent, you want to be alerted every time it's going down. And as part of the stream analytics, you can output the data into, let's say, an event hub, and then you can have a logic app that can send an SMS.
Anomaly detection is one of those cognitive services APIs as well that you can bolt your stuff into. Awesome demos, Val. A lot of people to take in there. I think for me, the cognitive services is a really great place to get started when you start building intelligence into your apps. And the great thing is you don't necessarily even need to be running your source application inside of Azure. When you start that journey, you can start by baking those REST APIs into your app today. And as you migrate into Azure, you can start to expand your capabilities outside of that as well. Hang around while we wrap up the show. By all means, as I said, please feel free to reach out via Twitter or post comments on YouTube. Val's details are on the show log. Let me just bring that up on screen here. So if you want to find out more about the source code for the demo that Val showed, the article to do with the Griffiths University work that Val and Tim contributed to, along with that super cool speech website where you can go and have a bit of a play with the neural text-to-speech. It's a bit freaky seeing Alex Kipman speak like that and then being able to convert that into text-to-speech, but some really amazing possibilities there to generate for content creators, I think, as much as anything else. So without further ado, I'm going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you very much for joining us today, Val. A reminder for those of you watching the show, next week on Thursday, we have our community show. It's going to be an amazing discussion on ways that we can tangibly support women in tech with a great group of our community team and also some community members from outside of the contributors to New Breakpoint. Val, do we want to give everyone a wave to wrap up the episode? So just a big wave at the camera.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks a lot. And we'll see everyone for the next episode. See you all again soon.